Good afternoon, traders. This is TonyD from easyMarkets in the Sydney dealing room. We've had a pretty jam-packed day so far in Asia. We've seen the Aussie CPI numbers have come out. Now, they did come in a lot weaker than expected. The market was banking on it being weaker, given that you did see the numbers from New Zealand come in a lot weaker. So yeah, the initial reaction though is very quite muted. The pullback that we're seeing hasn't broken the previous lows, and that's very important when you're trying to get follow-through selling. It is early in the day, but the initial reaction is to buy the dip. And in a market where there is strong movement for buy the dip, like the pound last night, the euro last night, this is a dangerous situation for the shorts because those highs up top here are highs from 2017 and 2018 so far, but it's also the high from back in 2015. So above this level really is a breakout point. If US dollar remains weak, then you are going to see potentially follow through selling on the top side, setting a new trend or continuation of the uptrend that we've seen in the last 7 weeks or so far. So it's an important little test here. The shorts are being a little bit stubborn so far and keeping on trying to sell, but it's pretty clear that the US dollar is under a lot of pressure. The big news in terms of stock market is there was a second day of sell-off that we got through. I haven't really seen too many two-day sell-offs in the stock market. I haven't seen a three-day sell-off in a very long time. Significant in size. The size of the pullback so far has been quite large as well. Still got a huge amount of room to move. You can see that this is a rally since September. So in terms of looking at levels though, if you try to do a fib extension, just see, from the day that Trump got into power, how far, can we go from the low there. Then you can see here, put it all the way up the top, change these colors. Doesn't look good on the doesn't look good on the white background. Alright, so just a normal pullback will get us down to the 24.5 level. So we've got a fair bit of room here just in terms of a normal retracement. That wouldn't even damage the overall outlook here of the market. And in terms of, what's the normal pullback look like, it's significant. 5% is normal. So this market has a huge amount of room if it wants to go lower. But we just have to see. It's very stubborn in terms of the buy the dip in this particular market as well. Has been there every time. No new news really either way. Negativity in terms of is only really due to the bond market going up. Now bonds keep on going up, then there is some speculation. The yields over in America that will start to make an impact onto the stock market, but just how long that will go through is up to really what happens here. Now, the State of the Union address from President Trump was just given, talking about a $1.5 trillion plan, infrastructure plan. Now, that could be enough to sort of support in the short term. You can see the market is responding positively to that. That was documented and highlighted as pretty much predictable what's going to come out. I really have to see how the European and the US session go. But it looks like the trends are continuing. So the US dollar selling, and that leads to stock market buying. In terms of rebalancing this month, it is the last day of the month that has led to US dollar selling. If you look across the portfolio of large fund managers, if they have to rebalance their portfolios, then the US stocks did outperform, and so the rebalancing does create US dollars selling. So that's another reason to be long the euro, long the pound, long the Aussie on the final day of selling. And also the pension funds in America have to rebalance their equity portfolio as well, and that leads to stock selling. So this sort of selling is pretty normal as well. So look, tomorrow could be a nice, better day to get a rebound, but just keep an eye on it. Today it also started just because of that speech from Trump, which did highlight the infrastructure. May see infrastructure stocks doing quite well today. In terms of Bitcoin, the other big story in the market, back below 10,000, this time looking a little bit more weak. The big story in the market is a concern about the US dollar replacement that's used in a lot of trading in cryptocurrencies. It's just a tether. It's by $1 US backed by one, each tether is backed by $1 US. The question is, is that money actually being held, and show us where it's being held. And there's been a subpoena in the US for that. Now that hasn't really been produced just yet. So the longer that they don't actually show that they have the money to back the, almost 3 billion in tether that is out there, the more concerned that traders are getting, and it's a good excuse and it's a good story. It makes sense to be negative at the moment in the short term. Back below these levels, then you're looking down to the 8,000 level as the main key buying point. So that's the level to keep an eye on. It's a little bit lower. Definitely get there in a day or two though if the market wants to collapse. Also, if we get back above 10,000, that look constructive on the charts. But yeah, in the short term, stay with the trend as it rolls out. Alright guys, if you want to talk about any of these particular stories or pairs or what's going on in the market, please come through to the dealing room. You can get us on the contact details below. If you're not a member of the easyMarkets dealing room and you want to speak to a dealer, assist you in your trading, then use the link below and someone will contact you and state to you what your requirements are and what the requirements are to have a personal deal.